Ladies and gentlemen, the first panel discussion over here. The topic for the moment is strong foundations, the key to brand longevity. I'll repeat the topic for the first panel discussion over here. This is about strong foundations, the key to brand longevity. Ladies and gentlemen, the session will be moderated by, and I'll repeat once again, I'll be introducing all of them and I'll be requesting all of you to come together once all the announcements are done. We have the first session being moderated by Mr. Kuldip Chawla, founder and MD, ASK Strategies and Real Estate. Kuldip ji is a seasoned real estate professional with over 3 decades of experience spanning financial services, infrastructure, and real estate sectors. He has held significant leadership roles, including serving as the Group CFO for Puravankara Group, Managing Partner at Milestone, Principal at Red Fort Capital, and COO at CIG Unitech. We have our speakers in alphabetical order as well. We have today with us Shridhar N, CEO, Real Estate and Infrastructure, Hiranandani Group. Shridhar ji was the originator of the largest private REIT deal in Indian real estate. He also incubated and created a pan-India platform called Greenbase for the industrial and logistics infrastructure business and runs the business as a joint venture with Blackstone as a partner. Along with his vast experience spanning over 30 years across real estate, infrastructure, financial services, and FMCG, Shridhar ji has also been doing a great and phenomenal job in mentoring startups and guiding them the right way as well. We also have with us today Ravi Ahuja, CEO, Raiaskaran, as an experienced real estate industry professional having performed in cross-dimensional work functions and leadership. Ravi ji has played a pivotal role in asset management of multi-asset class projects with a focus on revenues and profitability. He currently represents the principal side of the business. We also have with us today Sunny Bijlani, Joint Managing Director, Supreme Universal. Sunny ji is a futuristic second-generation entrepreneur with a wealth of experience spanning over 17 long years in the real estate industry. Sunny ji navigates the company towards new horizons and scaling greater heights. Sunny ji also recognizes the true success parameter of the company is the trust and confidence bestowed upon by customers. We also have with us today Vimalendra Singh, Chief Business Officer, Residential, Mahindra Lifespaces. Vimalendra ji holds P&L accountability for the residential business. He also has extensive experience across the US, GCC, and India. He worked across all functions of retail banking during his 12 years in the banking industry, and then he moved to the real estate sector with a stint in the Lodha Group as market head for their luxury portfolio. Ladies and gentlemen, can I request a huge round of applause for all our stalwarts over here as they join us over here on stage. Can I please request our moderator and honorable speakers to please kindly join us over here on stage for the very first panel discussion of the Realty Plus India Brand Leadership Conclave and Awards 2025. A huge shout out, please, everybody. Request all of you who joined us late, if you can please keep your phones in silent mode. We have the session starting right now. So, sir, on that note, over to you, and thank you so much.
Thank you, and good afternoon to all of you. I'll dive straight in. We'll leave the introductions out because, you know, the hosts have been kind enough to make those. Brand longevity is built on more than just products or projects. It's all about trust, adaptability, and a relentless focus on customer experience. Balancing innovation and consistency and forging organization culture. And all of this has one common thread, a strong foundation. I have 4 excellent panelists with me representing some of the best brands in real estate in this country. I'm going to start, with Shridhar, who's on my left, and ask him, a specific question around a real estate brand and how a real estate brand balances, innovation with consistency. You could use that mic.
Thank you, Kuldip. Uh, I think a fundamental for a brand, whether it is real estate or some other brand, it's the trust factor, the reliability factor, and consistently delivering on that brand's values. Because that's what the ultimate receiver of the brand's services expects. So having said that, trying to get into your question, I think innovation and consistency is something which go together while we build brands and then start maintaining it over time. Now, quality, delivery, whether it's a product or a service, and more so with real estate, as I see, because in real estate, it's now become more like a B2B, B2B2C. B2C is the most relevant in residential markets. And you build brand because it's the impression that the customers would get. And on B2B business like industrial warehousing, other asset classes, it's also about customer delight. So fundamentally, it's all about managing customers' expectations and in pivoting towards in a changing scenario. Like for example, post-COVID, customers' expectations, the ability of the brand to deliver. There are primary qualities of brand which has given, which is why the brand is there, which is your reliability, quality, and delivery and deliverance excellence. On post that, what you need to do as you have to maintain brand is also keep innovating, because I think there is a lot of expectations and newer expectations which come along, and also there is competing landscape which are also building brands as you go along. So it's very imperative that we build and meet expectations. For example, it's not just the sales which is important. Pre-sales, sales, and post-sales. And how you manage the journey of the customer. I mean, from a personal experience, like in Hiranandani, when a residential customer, I keep talking to them as I keep moving around the township, is about the ability they blindly trust. They saying, oh, you're building a new building, we're ready to put that money out there. Because even if you're not going to get the, say, approval on time, we refund the money back to them. So that's something which is trust, which has been built over time. But doesn't mean that he's now comparing a Hiranandani building with some other new developer with extra amenities or the CRM, the way the customer is treated. The entire offering that you give it to him and the flexibility that you give. So I think a brand has to innovate in terms of, one is it has to consistently deliver. That is the consistency aspect of the brand, because you built a brand and you're known for delivery, excellence, quality, reliability. Now, if you deliver on these four, you're there. But you have to also keep innovating, because I think the landscape has changed dramatically and people's expectations have to be met. And the brand is expected to do. Oh, Hiranandani also does this. There is an expectation, but now they're happy that it also does that. So in a digital transformation world, like for example, you now sell it to offshore customers, HNIs, you show them the real progress of the flat through the web, through the real updates. Then when they have to see, now you don't have to really have customers coming in and seeing your showroom flat. You do use AI and augmented reality to be able to show it to them, where you are there up on the curve in terms of adopting these latest technologies. And if the motto is that you are going to keep the customer delighted, whether he's a small 1 or 2 BHK bedroom buyer or a large super luxury 4 or 5 BHK bedroom buyer or a commercial office space, it speaks volumes about your brand. And that's how you innovate yourself as you go along the journey. That's my take.
So if I can ask you a follow-on question, how do you kind of decide which innovations align with your brand ethos and which are the ones that might dilute the core identity? Given your extensive experience, what would you say, how would you deal with that?
So I'm assuming that the brand is built. Now
Correct.
we're talking about an innovation which will enhance.
Correct. Or you move into different market segments, different micro markets, maybe even different regions.
Absolutely. See, I think a lot of people have learned a lot of different experiences post the COVID. I mean, that was a moment of change, right from people in FMCG to real estate, and the way you sold, the way you bought, the way you perceived things. For example, people said affordable housing was a huge concept, and we wanted everyone to have a home. So you moved into different segments from at that point in time at affordable. So you pivoted towards affordable as an innovation. You created co-living, got questioned because then co-living post-COVID, but co-living as an asset class has come off the grid. But that there are, industrial, logistic, different asset class within the real estate spectrum is something that you need to have the flexibility to engage in, because that's what is going to keep your brand alive. The brand can be, deep down, like Kuldip mentioned during our casual conversation, of being one product or one market. Or it can be a brand which encompasses all the other asset class within the alternate asset class within the real estate and be there. But then for that, it should be, the advantage is it has got a brand. Like for example, let me take Godrej. Before entering real estate, Godrej had established itself as a brand. But it innovated, and then it had the advantage of the brand backing the new business, which is real estate. And they built, or on real estate, the rub-off effect happened. But then to maintain that image, they had to continue delivering in the real estate landscape. So similarly, then you have to start expanding into different asset class. So if you see the top brands, whether it's DLF, Hiranandani, we have expanded into multiple asset classes. So that's the good side of the innovation part of it.
Correct.
And what we have learned in terms of the negative or whatever, which we could see is that, you have to be very quick in adapting. For example, today the industry suffers still from the, there have been good legislations like RERA, etc., which have helped the market transparency. So, but you already established a brand which always was known for its transparency, delivery on time, quality, etc. But expectations don't stop, right? So now what we realized was we also had to up the entire transformation in terms of communication to customer, and where you sort of, we have got a lot of HNI and NRI customers. So if you delay and if you don't give them the reasons for delay, so it's about adopting your new technologies and making innovations in your CRM, customer delight experience. So we have done it both offline and online. So any delay in that causes a
excellent.
That's where I would put, and that's more from a brand maintenance point of view also, because it has to be for the long haul. Once you have a customer, like in Coke, I used to say, if you don't drink a Coca-Cola bottle today, you have lost one bottle of sales on that day. Otherwise, you would have had the bottle of Coke. I lost one bottle of permanently. So similarly, if you tie up a customer with your asset class, you should ensure that you don't lose that customer's new requirements going forward too.
Sure.
That's how I put it, as consistently delivering on
excellent
innovation.
Points. Excellent. Thank you for that. And time permitting, we'll come back to the whole issue of maintenance. Don't put the mic down, Ravi. You're on next. And you're on next because there's something very interesting that Shridhar mentioned, which is COVID. And COVID caused a lot of disruption and competitiveness in the office market, of which you've been a very large part for many, many years across your various avatars. And so my question is, how do you ensure that your projects remain relevant, at a time when disruption of the significance and scale of COVID, comes around? Sure. And this question of relevance is obviously from a brand longevity point of view.
Sure. So I'm going to take your last two words of brand longevity and try to reverse engineer on the office and the impacts of COVID and how
and
the
we
markets
Indians are good
and
at reverse engineering.
Yeah. And how the markets and industry actually lived through it, and who faltered and who probably made it. If you allow me that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, on brand longevity, I'll probably just take 3 or 4 minutes. A lot of what you said in your introductory note gave a lot of snippets, and if you have a confluence of all those things, be it trust, be it innovation, I would add 2 more, maybe the emotional connect that a customer has with your product or brand, and how you sustain that in terms of continuous engagement with your so-called target audience or target group, and consistently keep meeting those expectations. I am a firm believer that in real estate, as developers or as stakeholders, we actually sell promises, don't we? And as long as you live up those promises, and then you can make a niche and have a brand identity, and just digressing on the question that you posed to Shridhar, you don't make mistakes, or you try to avoid making mistakes that dilute your brand, etc. That holds true even in the office segment, Kuldip, and we all, when COVID hit, remember, I was in L&T Realty at that time, and L&T culture was such that work from home is a no-no, right? And we've heard my ex-boss, Mr. SNS, also talk, and I'm in agreement with him to a large extent about the hard work that needs to be put in for success in these times as an emerging economy. But at that time, when we work from home, we had no clue what we're going to go through. We had no clue what our tenants are going through.
So if I can
And-
ask you, interrupt and ask you, so how did the brand adapt?
So the brand adapted by virtue of just waiting and watching during the uncertain period. But when the uncertainty came off, what are the 3 or 4 things that one can do and learn? So when I traveled to Bangalore by the first flight which was available post-COVID, I saw half the IT parks or maybe more were all vacant, right? So how do you get back
How do you still remain relevant?
relevant?
You know,
And
you need to be agile for that. So
And
what?
therefore, what are the, and what we did at our parks is to upgrade amenities. What we did at our parks is to make sure that if we had a dated food court, we made it more modern, we changed the landscape, we offered things that could bring in the staff in, etc. And by doing that, we also created a necessary so-called brand recall that this is what this developer has done.
And some people also then moved into hybrid workspaces, co-working, those kind of accelerated.
That took off big time.
Right,
Took off big time,
right.
and that helped corporate save costs, essentially.
Right.
But coming back, really speaking, the emotional connect of why should you go back to work? Is it only on Friday that you go back for a snack, and you don't wish to go back on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday? And what is it that you get back? What is it that you're offering in terms of community spaces that allow you? We had activity-based spaces, we had community-based spaces, and all of it was all thrown in, and we were trying to figure what works, what doesn't. What worked was, at the forefront was food and beverage, which worked wonders, because people wanted to come, and it was not actually food and beverage, it was actually the socializing behind that and connecting, and food was only a probably excuse that got us there.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see what the US and the Western nations do, because 2025, they say, is going to be the year that you go back to work. In India, we've seen it a lot sooner,
Yeah. No, I'm glad Trump took that call, although we all wanted, some of our US counterparts still today are more lucky for work from home. That's what their staff feel.
Right.
But I feel they've also become irrelevant to some extent. Yeah.
On the commercial office space, Kuldip, and as you mentioned, and to answer your question more precisely, is that because by the time I had sold the commercial office space to Brookfield, and plus we are developed under 5 more million between TCS, and we have clients, marquee clients. But what we could do was, and what we could see was that people during post-COVID and after the mandatory lockdown was lifted, there was a lot of reluctance in terms of people coming back to work. So that was the opportunity where you could build on your brand and offer incremental like biometrics and extra open space and encouraging people to come back to work. And India is really relevant. So that people understand that if I'm taking this building, this branded building of say Brookfield now or Hiranandani, and then these are the expectations that when they come back to office. The essential fear of not getting, again, at that point of time was, if 2 people were sitting next to each other with a difference of X amount of space, that was enhanced. And I could see a lot of commercial office, grade A offices getting a little bit modified. And the good part is, we also deferred rentals in empathizing with the guys for the non-occupancy period, but we collected all the rents that was due going forward. So that was something which was because of the brand. So the brand helped, brand probably made some adjustments, but if you've got a good grade A office asset and during such thing, you showed empathy, as Ravi did mention, emotional connect, that point that he made, but that got translated into something commercial and something value added for them. That adds to your brand image and brand longevity, especially in the commercial office space.
And also, Shridhar, just to add to you, what we have done from our learnings, and especially in office again, is, for example, now Raiaskaran has about 14 acres of land parcel at Prime Andheri Kurla Road. We have a building which is 15-year-old. The next phase will be about 3 million square feet, but as and when that comes up, that'll be brand new. So what are the things that we need to do? A, we are upgrading the amenities. We're bringing in a modern food court, the same old story, but in a new avatar. You know, we put in a cycling track. 14 acres is great. Staff loves it. The trend is pickleball in sports today, globally. We put in a pickleball court, and it's probably getting more bookings than the cricket turf, while both are going full. Apart from the mundane gym and creche, which sometimes go unused because of, again, emotional effect. People want to leave back children closer to where they stay rather than bring them to work and leave them, and things like that. So these are few things that we did. In residential, we're in luxury residential. Just want to bring out about innovation that you asked, Shridhar. How we innovated is we knew that our brand identity is that of luxury. We're doing a luxury office building in Bandra West, and we're fetching one of the highest values. In fact, we are a follow the leader kind of pack there. All the buildings around us follow our pricing with a 6-month lag because we generally achieve that. That's not the goal. The goal is really what product are you offering, and the pricing or the profitability is only a side effect. For example, in this case, we have tied up with Delhi Art Gallery. So DAG is one of the finest in art in India. And if you do a tie-up of this nature, you speak loud about what you mean or what you stand for in terms of luxury. And that's the art aspect that we bought into this building. So that's the innovation we're trying to...
On the luxury side.
On the luxury side, yeah.
Right, and Sunny next to you is a luxury brand in Mumbai. And to him, I would ask a follow-on question, which is, over the decades, how have you focused on A, remaining relevant, and B, more importantly, are there any lessons from other brands, either real estate in India or globally, or outside real estate that you've found useful to incorporate in ensuring longevity of your brand in the segment in which you operate?
So, thanks, Kuldip. You know, the one thing that I keep telling everybody who works with us is nobody who does a deal remembers the numbers after 5 years. They will not remember the square footage. They will not remember anything that they signed. There's only one thing they'll remember, is how you made them feel. That experience that you go back home with, you, your family, or if it's a B2B in case of office, that is the single most thing that defines whether they will be your brand ambassador when they go back or not. Or will they go back and feel that they overpaid? And even if they've overpaid and if they felt good about the whole experience, trust me, for them that's a much bigger value add than anything else. So for me, I think brand longevity is the culture you breed top down. And culture is what people do when no one's watching. Culture is not what you put on your brochure on your website. All the mission, vision statements, all that is out of the window if people don't actually believe in that and follow that when no one's watching them. I just feel that you look at any brand and connecting to your follow-on question, look at Tata, look at Amazon, look at Apple. In Amazon, Jeff Bezos is obsessed with customer orientation.
Yes.
They have an interview process that is so rigid that they have a 16-point charter around which they test whether the person coming in will really take the values to the next level, not whether you'll fit in or not. Whether you will really be able to take these values deeper than the current team. And only then you're at least part of the top brass and core team. So for me, I think their obsession with customer orientation is so deeply ingrained that everybody there is actually thinking, what can I do next to make my customer's life easier? What can I do next to be relevant? And when you talk about relevance, there's one thing I remember Jeff Bezos saying in an interview. Everybody asks, what is going to change in the next 10 years? He said that I ask my team what will not change in the next 10 years.
Because he wants the brand to be more resilient.
Exactly. So he said what will not change is everybody will want cheaper goods, better goods, and faster. That's one thing that will not change. So stick to your core, play to your strengths, and realize what is it that the customer wants and keep going so deep that you are better than anybody else at delivering that. So I think...
let me ask you a quick follow-on question. So as you scale, how are you making sure that the first point that you made to the people who work with you, whether it's in the organization or other stakeholders outside the organization, how do you ensure that the culture, keeps getting aligned to that brand promise of how a customer should feel, that he should feel good? How do you do that?
So this Kuldip is top down. There are many, you are the function of the decisions you make. There are many instances where you're supposed to make a choice. I'll give you small examples. We are obviously highly dependent on policy and regulation.
Yes.
In the last decade and a half, our industry has gone through immense amount of policy changes.
True.
You've always been standing at that juncture, whether to go back to the customer, to up your price, or stick to your commitments. And I can tell you at least 50 instances where that has happened. We have always taken a call that even if there's no dotted line signed, even if there's a verbal commitment, and if things have changed, and our cost has gone up, we will never go back to the customer saying that, you know what, we had this soft commitment, even though we've not taken a token. So this is what...
I've heard that from your stakeholders, so I can endorse that.
So, and these are things, Kuldip, that your team watch very closely. Your team, wherever they've been before you, when they come, in a matter of 6 months, they metamorphosize in the culture and imitate what they see top down. So if your values are something you truly believe in, and you make sure that every small conversation in the boardroom, every small way you conduct yourself with the external world, speaks and authenticates what you believe in, I think that is how culture gets bred. That's why culture doesn't get made overnight.
Excellent. Well, thank you. Vimal, you get the hardest questions because you get the feedback from all the three, and I'm going to pose a tough one to you. You have, a very widespread portfolio, not just products, not just regions, but cities, and within cities, micro markets. Consistency, does take a lot when you need to build or reinvent the brand as you've had to over the few decades that you've been in business in India. And then you have the corporate culture of the group itself, How do you balance all these things in the context of making sure that the brand recall is high, whether it's B2B or B2C, whether it's resi or, warehousing, industrial or commercial, Chennai or Jaipur?
No, great. So good afternoon, everyone, first of all. I think it's been silent audience. But on a lighter note, I was hoping that one of my panelists, at least say, use the name of Mahindra when they gave some examples, but none of them gave. We are competing outside.
I love this.
So I'm sure everybody has heard about Mahindra. Mahindra Lifespaces. A lot of you must be using the product. I will do that. Because, yeah. So all of you know Mahindra, so Mahindra needs no introduction. I believe Mahindra Lifespaces also needs no introduction. We have been there for last 3 decades, almost 30 years now. It's only now that the elephant is waking up, as one of the investor and analyst has said, in last 4 or 5 years, frankly. Otherwise, we were very content doing what we were doing. Specifically coming to your question, Kuldip, I think the brands, and since it's a topic about brands are not built in one day, right? It takes a lot of time, a lot of consistent efforts to build brand. And talk about Hiranandani, right? Their flagship started in terms of that Powai township, and I've heard stories about it, how they created that. Or anything, as Sunny said, eventually the brand transcends from a product or a positioning into emotion, into trust, into that particular connect that a consumer has, right? Real estate is the only category where you take a lifetime debt. Is there any other product where you take a debt for 30 years? No other product, right? So that's how important it is for people. At the end of the day, you're buying a house, you're willing to take a loan which is 30 years. You may not even know whether 30 years I'll be working with all the corporate things, with all the nice discussions which are happening in the corporate boardrooms or in the conclaves. Right? Work hard is all great. But as my chairman said, it's about the quality of work. So we'll continue. I'll stick to my chairman, right? So quality of work is important. Specifically, how we have managed to remain connected to all the consumers, right? One is that mother brand is really helpful, or the parent brand is really helpful, because we had the advantage of drawing basically from Mahindra Group. And I think Mahindra Group is more than now 70 years old, right? It started in 1945, just before independence. And obviously, in many ways, when people talk about Mahindra, and obviously, they talk about Mahindra in the light of the contributions they have made towards the country. I think as a group, we are present in the sectors which are relevant and which are very important for the country. All the sunrise sectors we are present, right? And the amount of exposure that people have to some or the other Mahindra product is amazing. It's huge, and I think that's the advantage. But coming specifically to Mahindra Lifespaces, we were present in 7 cities. We are still present in 7 cities. We have an industrial business, upwards of 6,000 acres between Chennai, Pune, Ahmedabad, and Jaipur. And sometimes I also ask people, if suppose we are selling a particular product for 5 crores, why do you buy? Why do you buy? And I'll give you that very specific, precise answer that I hear. आप लोग ईमानदार लोग हो. And very honestly, a lot of the people across the price segment, let it be a mid-premium, affordable, luxury, they have said, आप लोग ईमानदार लोग हो, which comes to the question that, or to the point that Sunny, you raised, it's all about trust. Unfortunately, our sector or real estate in the past, for various reasons, have been plagued by a lot of mistrust because of actions which are our own doing. It is not that somebody else from outside came and created a mess of the sector. A lot of that is actually changing now. A significant amount of professionalism is there in the sector. I think it is very well organized. It is getting organized even more by the day. If you look at the statistics, and these are all out in the public domain, almost 50% developers have shut shop after RERA has come, right? In terms of the corporate or listed entities, the market share has moved up to 34% as of last quarter, and that's expected to go up to 50%. And the reason is very obvious. The reason is, the consumers are aware. The consumers are very well aware what are their rights. You can't take them for a ride. You need to fulfill your commitments. You need to fulfill your promise. And one more important thing that I want to mention, as again Sunny said, selling them promises, right? I use the word, Sunny, dreams. I said, you're selling them the dreams. And the worst thing that can happen to an individual, let it be of any age, is when you break that dream, right? And the moment of reality or the moment of truth in our business is when you deliver the house and when the consumer has to experience that particular house. If all the promises and the dreams that you have shown, if they hold true, you have earned a promoter for lifetime. And if you break that, I think he's going to be a detractor for lifetime.
So under promise, over deliver is
Absolutely.
the mantra. On that note, let me actually wake up the audience, and through a show of hands, how many of the audience believe that, building a brand is more difficult or maintaining a brand is more difficult? Show of hands for building a brand more difficult. So nobody believes that building a brand is more difficult. Maintaining a brand, show of hands, please. All right, okay, great. We've got 10 minutes. I have some rapid fire questions. I'm going to pose one to each speaker. First with you, Shridhar. Innovation or tradition, what matters more?
Innovation.
Why?
I think we live in a world where once we build the brand and we are all doing sustainable businesses, and we have obviously sustainable growth and sustainable profits. But end of the day, I think the markets are changing. The landscape is changing. Your requirements are changing. It's like, instead of buying a house, most of the people who are smart financial geniuses would rent a house because the yields are so low, right? And that I can see happening across. And the digital transformation, the digital connectivity has reduced the scopes. For example, we could very well have this meeting digitally.
Okay.
Even 1,000 people attending it. So I think it's about innovating and giving reasons for people to be able to getting into
Got it.
what they want to have. So I would
Got it.
put innovation
Okay.
because we continuously pivot towards building our brand and adding more new products and newer alternate asset class
Okay.
around it.
Okay. Ravi, one word that defines your brand. You can go with two, but not more than two.
Consistent quality.
Okay, that's two words. Thank you. Sunny, book or podcast for brand building? Any book, any podcast for brand building need not be real estate. In fact, I would prefer it not be real estate.
Today I would tell you podcast.
Okay, but
Asked me to choose.
no,
between-
I'm not saying you have to choose any book or any podcast.
Okay.
You know that you recommend or you think is great or you've used or you've read or you've asked your people to read or listen to.
So one is One Thing. Actually, it was given to me by Naveen Jindal. You want me to tell you about the book or just name of the book is good?
No, I mean, quick
Okay,
comment
so-
on the book would be useful.
So the One Thing, basically, it's the smallest book you'll ever read, but one of the most impactful books I've read. It basically talks about that your time is currency. When you wake up, most of us make a laundry list of things and then we get lost in the bargain. And he's obviously, had a lot of litigation which he's fought and come back. So I was actually having a conversation and he gave me this book as an answer. He said, if you want to really win the game of life, slice everything as much as you can. And every day ask yourself, if I'm allowed to do only one thing, what will it be?
Singular focus.
Just one thing. And the whole book is around that. It gives you so much focus and power to declutter your life. And I think the 80-20 rule applies everywhere. 20% of what we do has 80% of the impact. And most of us spend immense amount of time on the balance 80. I think we all have 24 hours. I think the people who really race ahead are the guys who know what the 20 is.
Excellent, excellent. Vimal, what is the most impactful event on the real estate sector side? One or two events in the last decade,
So obviously RERA coming in and it's a central act, but then being adopted by every single state. The other thing, personally, coming from my group, I really think demonetization was great. It gave a lot of pain in the short run, but I think it helped clean up the system in a big way. It moved things in a right direction.
right?
Very strongly
So
believe that.
You're saying RERA for transparency and,
Demonetization for cleaning up the
waking
system.
us up, good shock therapy, Would you say in the next 5 to 10 years, something like digital marketing or technology itself, could be a big game changer, a disruptor?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll talk about two things. One is on the consumer side and one is on the approval side. On the consumer side, obviously, we talk about AI in a big way, and it is going to be disruptive as we move along. And not everybody really understands AI. It's very powerful, and frankly, we have done something around metaverse. We launched a project in metaverse, by the way, the first ever in the country. And as we move along, you'll hear a lot about AI, generative AI, read a lot about it. The other thing, which is a wish list, I'm sure from everyone here, is can we really move to a single window approval as far as real estate is concerned, right? We all say that it's great, it's contributing 8% to the GDP, we'll move to 15% of the GDP, but I guess we are still long away in terms of the processes. If we can truly optimize the approval process, make the system more efficient, it can actually be a GDP multiplier in a very, very big way.
Right. Sunny?
I actually think we have RERA, and we've been time again telling RERA that you're regulating us, please regulate the authorities and get them under the ambit as well. And I think that'll be path-breaking.
Okay.
I think we are moving into the era of digital printing of homes. as you would have all read. So I think the speed on execution of homes, typically even today when we do real estate projects, residential, the best case scenario is if you're getting the whole 32-floor building ready in 4 years. Now why can't we do it in, say, 2 years? Why can't we do it in 1 year? I mean, there are different, like somebody built a digital villa in three days, like my friend Faisal's home. And then PEB was touted to be, doing it in 8-9 months. So I think we are moving towards pivotal. So to answer what are the impact on real estate, I think the digital transformation will impact, and the AI, etc., would impact the way we live, that is rent and buy, and also the way we execute very fast. Like in Dubai, they take 72 hours to lay 5-kilometer highway and do. Here we take probably a year. So those are the things that need to, will happen. My view is that's one of the biggest transformational event which has happened in terms of getting awareness for us to get these things. I think all the other things, approval, land, buying land, I think in real estate is getting to be more institutionalized like other manufacturing and industry. So we'll be able to move towards that, and laws are getting in place. So I see a good transformation happening in the real estate space.
Okay, great. Ravi, you had something to say, or? Okay. All right. Well, I think we have another three and a half minutes. I'm going to take 2 or 2.5 out of those. Firstly, thank you to my esteemed panelists. Lovely discussion, lovely engaging discussion. My takeaway, a brand isn't just a logo, an event, a project, a product, an event. It's a lot about trust, transparency, consistency, and unparalleled customer experience, to the point that people on this panel have talked about. So today's conversation reminds me of that, whilst challenges are inevitable, resilience, consistency, and just being focused on the person who pays for us to be alive, namely the customer, is centric to all of us. I think we've got, Ashley said I'll take 2.5 minutes, but we've got 2.5 minutes. So if I can think we can take 1 or 2 questions. Do we have any mics around?
Yes, over here.
Okay, so any questions, please raise your hand. You can ask anybody on the panel.
If you may please raise your hand so that I can spot you. Any questions? Sir has a question.
Please state your name, your question, no comments, and the person you wish to answer your question.
So I'm Parag Desai. So I'm into market research, and we do market research for real estate. Okay. My question to anyone who wants to pick it up is, we talked a lot about how the brands are kind of looking at engaging with customers and improving themselves, right? A lot of the sectors where we see benchmarks being there for each of us to kind of peg ourselves. But in real estate, I believe that's one thing that never happened, right? Between brands, when we're looking at how does our brand perform vis-a-vis the other, right? I'm not talking for the outside world, but purely from an improvement perspective. Do you feel that there is some scope out here now that now that the sector is organized, that some scores, some benchmarkings come in place wherein everyone will be able to use and peg themselves and become better? If anyone wants to.
Go ahead.
So we already have in the market, in the industry, it is there. There's a brand equity study which is there, which basically tells you on 2 parameters. One is brand salience, and the other thing is brand positioning, and they rank you against say 10 to 15 players in that particular market. There is a pan-India study also which is there, and there's a regional study also which is there, because there are players who are different. So one, it is available. Now, obviously, we can don't want to get into the dynamics whether how credible it is as compared to the FMCG sector, which is far more deeper sector in terms of research, right? So that is available. If that's any other question that you had, sorry, which is the second part.
Yeah, we've got 30 seconds, so
Anyone else?
one-line question.
Anyone has any question over here? Ma'am.
Short, quick.
Short. not, I don't know, but
Okay,
quick,
go
yeah.
ahead, fire away.
So you guys spoke about real estate, how trust and dreams are built and all of that. I mean, very interesting, all of y'all. I just noted down one question. How you guys as real estate guys can create lasting, trusting relationships with people in this,
Sorry, can you speak into the mic? I'm sorry, we can't hear you.
my apologies. So how can real estate brands, as yourself, create lasting values and trust in this market, which is
How can
With
real
its-
estate brands create lasting values
and trust,
and sustainable
trust.
trust?
I
Okay.
mean, you see how the eco
So,
cycles
so
are.
the
and
focus is
trust are.
on sustainability.
Yeah, purely.
All right. Okay.
One is once a brand is created, I think everyone agreed maintaining the brand is much more important and difficult. So that's where the sustainability comes. I think most of the brands sitting out here, I'm sure Mahindra and us, and we all do IGCP certification. That's number one. Now the brand is built. The trust is, for example, it's through customer connect and customer relationship. I'll give you an example in Hiranandani. One of our customers, I'm talking about 8-10 years back, went and saw his Italian marble was not there. No questions asked. We went and replaced that in that one residential flat. Now that's something about trust. So now that word spreads around. So people say that there will be no leakages, and if there is something pointed out, they'll be able to do it without asking any questions. That was Hiranandani who did it, and it was great. This was pre-RERA. So it is not that there is a compulsion or you have to go to a consumer code. It is about your own volition that you go out and do it. For example, recently we also conduct Hiranandani Pulse that recently we have introduced, like we do it in New Year and Diwali. It's a community program, and we engage because we are very good in building townships because of the amenities and infrastructure that we provide. So there's a lot of feedback that comes, informal feedback from customers who are living there and new customers who visit. And we are able to react to it without there being a compulsion. It's not because of RERA that we want to give it on time. We anyway are used to giving it on time. That's how brands are built. Like Mahindra builds on there is ethics that they hold very dearly to themselves. And people would buy in that segment, socio-economic segment, they will believe Mahindra will deliver a good house. Tata is a great brand name. Similarly, in Hiranandani, we said whether luxury or something, you build that. And addressing your sustainability issue, I think it's going to be part and parcel of all of us in life. Now, all of us trying to race towards net zero. We are building green building practices. We are trying to do energy transition, energy saving in commercial buildings by building sensors and cutting down on energy consumption, thereby increasing energy efficiency. So when you build, that was the question that Kuldip asked in terms of innovation. That's one of the sustainability, which Mahindra also does very well, is about what you build it into the brand and delivery of your product to people. So people know I'm not only buying a house, but I'm also buying a house built in a sustainable manner. And this awareness is only going to keep growing as we go along. And that's how you build trust and sustainability. I hope I answered you.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. And thank you to my panelists. And, let's continue this conversation on brand.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Please give them a huge round of applause.